Resident Evil 4 is considered by many to be one of the greatest games of all time. Playing through it all the way to the end, it's not really hard to see why. You return in Resident Evil 4 as Leon Kennedy, a fan favorite from the series, and I'll always remember Leon because Resident Evil 2 is probably my favorite from the Resident Evil series, followed by probably the remake for the GameCube. You may ask me, failed? Does Resident Evil 4 hold up in 2016? The short answer to that question is yes.
Cornel, why am I the one who always gets the short end of the stick?
Yo, who are you really? Come on and tell us. You are a long way from home, cowboy.
Visually, Resident Evil 4 still looks good. It doesn't look great or amazing, especially by today's standards, but Resident Evil 4 definitely isn't an eyesore. It's 2016. I don't really expect a game from the mid-2000s to look like Grand Theft Auto 5 or Uncharted 4. So how's Resident Evil 4's gameplay? Well, there's two types of Resident Evil 4 fans in my opinion. Those who love it and think it's the best the series has to offer, and those that think that this was the start of the problems that carried over into Resident Evil 5 and the even more terrible abomination that is Resident Evil 6. I'm probably in the camp that likes Resident Evil 4 a lot, but also I can put aside my Resident Evil bias and understand that while it's a great game, it truly was the start of a lot of the problems to come. The removal of fixed camera angles, less interesting music and atmosphere, and handing ammo out like candy made Resident Evil 4 feel much more like an action game than a true survival horror game. Inventory management, forget it. The amount of items you can put into your inventory is completely ridiculous, and because of this, a lot of the survival intention is lost. The inclusion of QTEs in Resident Evil 4, like it or not, probably changed games forever. It's not that QTEs had never been done before, but putting them in a game that was highly praised, sold very well, and has the Resident Evil name has given us a lot of what we have now in games that contain QuickTime events. All of this being said, Resident Evil 4 is still a blast to play. No doubt my favorite way to kill enemies in the game is headshots, and many of the games today that have headshots just aren't RE4 satisfying. You don't have to directly aim for headshots, you can take out a leg and then maybe get your cheap yet satisfying headshot in. Chew on this. The controls in the game feel great as well as responsive. I'm using an Xbox One controller playing the PC version at a rock solid 60 frames a second, and I can't say that I've had any issues, absolutely none. As a side note though, on performance, Resident Evil 4 does run great in this version. I experienced no dips below 60, not even one frame. In saying that though, it's clear that some things about this game and its engine were hard-coded and just couldn't be changed. The reload animations make this beyond obvious as they run at 30 frames a second where everything else around you is running at 60. I wouldn't say it's jarring and it doesn't really completely take you out of the experience, but for me as a PC gamer, it's very noticeable.
Te voy a hacer picadillo.
Speaking of reload animations, they're awesome in Resident Evil 4, and if you guys know me on this channel, you know how I am about reload animations and just, attention to detail in general. They're top notch. The gun sounds, everything, especially considering the time this game came out. If you consider that, I'm not saying that some games, very few, a small handful, some games have come along and done things much better than Resident Evil 4, but there are many games, a lot of games in the last 10 years, third person or first person, where you could say, man, this didn't do it as well as Resident Evil 4, and look how old this game is. To me, it's an accomplishment, and it just speaks that this game was ahead of its time in so many ways, and you really have to appreciate that.
¡Os voy a romper a pedazos!
You spend a good amount of time babysitting in Resident Evil 4, usually to the tune of, "Leon, help me, Leon." At times I feel they should have called this game Resident Babysitter or Babysit Evil, but Ashley's not really evil, or whatever, who cares. Point is, you're doing a lot of hand-holding in Resident Evil 4. I don't think it takes away from the core gameplay experience or what makes Resident Evil 4 so much fun, but I would be lying if I said I didn't get annoyed at times.
I've succeeded in extricating my subject.
Good work, Leon. I'll send a chopper over right away.
Where's the extraction point?
There's another trail that you can take to get out of the village. The chopper will pick you up beyond there.
Got it. I'm on my way.
How about the story in Resident Evil 4? These Resident Evil games have never really told the best story. Sometimes you fully understand what's happening, other times it's a convoluted mess. That doesn't really change with Resident Evil 4. It's a pretty straightforward scenario this time around. The president's daughter has been taken, Leon is asked to get her back, kills many infected along the way, finds himself in a few awesome boss battles, and some not so great villains that would probably be laughed out of the industry today.
Will the United States think they can police the world forever? So, we kidnap the president's daughter in order to give her our power, and then send her back.
No.
Leon, I think they shot something in my neck.
The game also offers up some great replay value, as acquiring and upgrading some of the better weapons in the game will require you to have multiple playthroughs, and in my opinion, it's totally worth it. I know the game is old at this point in 2016, but there's some nice secrets and other cool things to do after the credits roll that I won't be spoiling in this review. Resident Evil 4 is a game that I feel every gamer should play. I really feel it's one of those games that has something for everyone, unless, of course, your favorite game of all time, as well as your only game of all time, is Candy Crush. The visuals hold up pretty well, the cheesy story and voice acting that's always been part of the Resident Evil charm holds up, and most importantly, the gameplay is still a blast to play. I'm trying really hard not to slap a score on reviews anymore. I think so many people get caught up in the numbers and just so crazy and out of their mind if your opinion or your number doesn't fall in line with their opinion or their number. It's a little disgusting for me. So I'll just say, that all you need to know is that Resident Evil 4 is very worthy of much praise and is still an amazing game in 2016. You guys take care. Thank you for watching, and thank you for all the support. Peace.